dead time now, where time stops and horror begins. Put on your headphones, find a quiet corner, and turn off the lights. Because what you're about to hear is not just a story, it's a true nightmare.
Story 1. The Forbidden Ritual in the Blood Cave. A true horror account. I should turn back the moment I saw the blood stains on the rocks near the cave's entrance, but something deeper, darker pulled me inside. It started as a drunken dare, whispered around the campfire. Spend one night in the blood cave and come out a legend, they said. They never mentioned the ritual or the rules. The villagers nearby still cross themselves whenever they walk past the hill. They say something ancient was summoned there centuries ago and it was never sent back. The cave wasn't deep, but it felt endless. My flashlight flickered like it was choking on the air itself. And then the walls started to bleed. I swear they did. Carved into the stone were hundreds of strange rune symbols that pulsed as if they were alive. I touched one out of curiosity and heard whispers in a language I didn't understand. A flat altar of bone lay in the middle of the chamber. Dried blood, feathers, burnt human hair, and a single eye, preserved in a jar. On the wall, in fresh wood, were the words, knee, cut, whisper, wait. And my mind, like it wasn't mine anymore, urged me to obey. I dragged the blade from a broken ritual knife across my palm. The air thickened, the walls trembled, and behind me, the entrance sealed. I spoke the words I didn't know I knew, and in that moment, I felt something enter the cave, not with footsteps, but with weight, a pressure that bent reality itself. It wasn't human, not even close. Its face had no eyes, just endless black sockets dripping in, and it smiled. There was one unspoken rule, I realized too late. Never look directly at it, but I did, and now its mark is inside me. The altar began to wail not from wind, but from something trapped inside. Hundreds of screams, thousands. It was never just one ritual. It was generations of sacrifice. I ran, not toward the entrance, but through the cave. A second exit, no one had ever found before, appeared in the stone that was waiting. I made it out. I don't know how, but ever since that night, I've seen things, reflections that don't match blood. It appears on my walls, and a voice that says, "You finished the ritual. Now you must begin another." If you ever hear about the blood cave, stay away. Don't play brave, don't investigate. And if you're watching this, please subscribe, like the video, and turn on the bell. Because I have more stories, and some of them might save your life. Story 2. The Ritual of the Third Eye. A true cult experience. They said the ritual would open my mind instead. It opened a door that should have stayed closed forever. I was invited by someone I trusted, an old friend who disappeared for years. When he returned, his eyes, they didn't blink anymore. He said, "You're ready to see what others fear." The cult called themselves Children of the Sight. The compound was deep in the forest, miles from any road. Everyone there wore black cloth over their eyes, yet they moved like they could see. At dusk, they brought us underground. Torches lit a spiraling staircase carved into the earth, where chants echoed like voices from another world. In the heart of the underground was a room shaped like a human skull. On the floor, drawn in blood, was a massive eye symbol, surrounded by bones. We were each handed a cup. The liquid was black, thick and warm. "It will break the walls of your mind," they said. I hesitated, but drank. First, it felt like sinking. Then flying, the walls melted, my hands vanished. And then I saw a version of myself staring at me from across the room. A searing pain hit my forehead as if something were trying to crawl out from inside my skull. Then I saw it, not through my eyes, but through something else. I was seeing from behind reality. In that vision, I saw them, tall, faceless figures wrapped in shadows, watching all of us from behind a veil. And I knew they were watching through me now. They weren't opening eyes, they were offering us as vessels, hosts for watchers from beyond. That's why the members no longer blinked, they were no longer fully human. I found a hallway of locked doors. Behind them, I heard voices screaming in languages no one speaks anymore. Some of them sounded like they were still alive, others, not quite. I ran, while the rest chanted louder, faster. One of them followed me. She whispered, "Once you see, you can't unsee. They're inside now." I made it out. Back to the city, but every time I look in the mirror, I see something behind my eyes. And sometimes it moves before I do. The friend who invited me, they found him days later blindfolded, dead, with the word "awakened" carved on his chest. From the inside, the children of the site are still out there, recruiting, opening eyes. Don't fall for the invitation. And if you value your sanity, subscribe to this channel, like the video, and hit the bell, because what I'll share next might be the only warning you ever get. Story 3. Jack the Smiler. The man who killed with a grin, he always smiled. Even when he was arrested, even when they found the bodies. And the last thing every victim ever saw was that smile. Growing up in Prague, we all heard the story of Jack the Smiler. He'd walk the city late at night, wearing a suit and a polite grin, until someone made the mistake of speaking to him. In 1998, a woman was found in her apartment, no signs of forced entry, but her mouth was torn into a wide grin. A smile, surgically carved, and next to her was a card that read, "Thank you for the lovely evening, Jack." Police thought it was a sick joke, until 5 more cases followed in 3 months. Same pattern, no witnesses, same smile, same card. I was 16. I shouldn't have been so fascinated, but I was. I started keeping clippings, tracking locations, and one night, I saw him outside my building, watching, grinning. Years later, as a freelance journalist, I found something, surveillance footage from a metro station. A man in a suit, no face visible, just a reflection of teeth in the glass. He followed someone. She never made it home. Every victim had one thing in common. They smiled at him first. Just a polite gesture, and it cost them their lives. There was only one survivor. She met him in a bar, said he was charming. Until she asked his name. He leaned in, she said, and whispered, "Call me Jack. I like when people remember me." Some believed he wore a permanent mask. Others said the smile wasn't real at all, but something carved into his own flesh. There were no photos, only drawings. And in every sketch his teeth were wrong, too many, too sharp. One night, walking home, I saw him again. Same suit, same distance, same awful grin. But this time, he waved. I didn't smile, didn't speak, I just ran. Behind me, I heard laughter come, polite, echoing like it didn't belong to a human throat. Weeks later, I got an envelope. Inside, a photo of me asleep in bed, and a note, "Thank you for not smiling." I started to believe he wasn't a man at all. Maybe he was a thing wearing a man's skin, a creature that fed on politeness, on kindness, on connection. The killings stopped in Prague. But now, people whisper about similar deaths in other cities, Vienna, Berlin, Paris. They don't say his name, but they all describe the same smile. So if you see a man in a dark suit smiling, don't smile back. And whatever you do, don't say hello. And if you're watching this, subscribe, like, and activate the bell. Because I've seen him again, and next time, he might not let me go. Story 4. The woman who heard voices, a real case of possession or madness. She claimed the voices told her to do it, but when she described what they sounded like, none of us could sleep for weeks. I was a psychiatric intern in 2004 when we received a new patient, Myra A., 34, brought in after neighbors found her digging a grave in her living room. She said, "He's coming, I have to be ready." She was quiet at first, too quiet. But when we asked about the voices, she smiled. "They've always been here. You just don't listen loud enough. No drugs, no criminal record." As our journal told another story, pages filled with symbols, patterns, and strange Latin phrases she never learned. The night staff found her standing in her room, arms raised, eyes rolled back. She was speaking into voices at once, one high and one impossibly low. The recording mysteriously erased from the system the next day. She asked for a mirror. We gave her a plastic one. She stared at it for an hour, then whispered, "He's in now." He knows you. Myra drew a door, a black one, with numbers etched into it. 11,278. Later that week, a nurse found her trying to carve the same number into her skin using her own nails. The attending physician dismissed it as schizophrenia, but then he started seeing the number 11,278 scribbled on his office walls. Even when no one had access, one night, Myra screamed for 4 minutes straight in a language one recognized. A professor of ancient texts later identified parts of it as pre-Sumerian curse fragments. Impossible unless she had help. Her bed caught fire, spontaneously. No matches, no lighter, no electrical force. And yet the word "listen" was burned into the wall above it. We tried soundproofing her room. She still responded to things no one else could hear. And sometimes she knew what we were saying in other rooms. On the night of the full moon, she vanished. Security footage showed her cell empty. No door opened, no window broken. She was just gone. 3 days later, the hospital received a voicemail. Static, a voice whispering, "You didn't listen." Now we speak through others. The phone number, 11,278. Last year, I moved to another country. Started over. And one night, I saw her in a crowd staring at me and mouthing words I couldn't hear, but somehow understood. Myra was real. I was there. The voices, they're not gone. They just choose better listeners. If you ever hear one whispering from the dark, don't answer. And if you want more true stories like this, subscribe now, like this video, and activate the bell, because the next voice might be yours. Story 5, Room 313. The hotel where guests vanish without a trace. They told me not to stay in room 313. Not because it was haunted, but because no one ever checks out. Every hotel has a story, but this one had a pattern. Room 313 had seen 7 disappearances in 18 years. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just empty rooms and a locked door. I was doing a documentary on haunted hotels. Naturally, I requested room 313 at the Morven Grand Hotel. The receptionist looked at me like I signed my own death warrant. It looked ordinary, beige walls, a small window. But something was wrong with the silence, like the room was listening. In the drawer, I found a leather-bound book. No pages, just one entry scratched into the cover. Leave before the mirror turns black. At 3:13 a.m., I heard knocking from inside the bathroom mirror. Not on the door, not from the hallway, from the glass. The next night, the mirror was no longer reflecting the room. It was showing something else, a hallway made of stone, lit by candles, with shadows moving just out of sight. I played back a recording I left overnight. At 3:13 a.m., a voice whispered, "You opened it, now walk through." Behind the wardrobe was a sealed wooden panel. I pried it open. Behind it a second door, identical to the bathroom one, but with no handle and no light behind it. When I stepped back, my suitcase was gone, then my backpack. Then the door lock clicked and the lights dimmed on their own. I tried leaving. The hallway led me back to the same room, over and over, even when I screamed for help. No one outside reacted. I was already gone. The mirror turned black, then red, and in the condensation, a single phrase appeared, "Join us in the quiet." I smashed the mirror and ran through the wall behind it into a crawl space that hadn't been used in decades. Inside it were closed bones and scratched symbols that made my skin burn. The footage was mostly corrupted, but one frame remained, me sleeping in the bed, with someone standing over me, a tall figure with no face, and my voice. I survived room 313, barely, but every hotel I stay in, since the mirror turns black at 3:13 a.m. If you ever see that number, leave immediately. And if you want more stories they don't want told, subscribe, like, and turn on the bell.